Well, here we are after a 4 day absence. It's Joe Chaffee and Joe Rayo on the Joe and Joe Weather Show. Usually we are in the same state, even though we're not in the same county. But today I'm in Georgia, and you are still up in the People's Republic of the state of New York.
Yes. Yes.
So I noticed the weather has been spectacular since I've left, naturally.
It has been gorgeous. I We had a day on Sunday which was gorgeous. We had puffy fair weather clouds, blue sky, bright sun, dew points in the 40s, and first couple of days of this week have been outstanding. And we should have a reasonably good day tomorrow.
Now, I will tell you this. If you're going to go down south in June, or particularly in the latter part of June, I will advise you that it is absolutely best to do it with an upper low like this one, because I woke up this morning to temperatures in the mid 50s, dew points in the low 50s, and we had clouds. There was a certain point of this day. We started out with sun, then we went overcast until about early to mid afternoon. Then it went sunny again. Temperatures barely got above the 70-degree mark here today. The weather's been absolutely delightful. And I have to tell you, when I don't know, we've talked about, you and I have talked about the drive when you drive down south and you drive 81. But I will tell you that I drove down because I was in Ohio on over the weekend from Columbus. I drove down 75, and I have to tell you, Joe, 75 is every bit as pretty as 81, and some stretches are even prettier. And it's without the runaway truck ramps that you have on 81. Seriously, the the drive down 75 was really terrific. I was beautiful. I didn't anticipate that. And Kentucky, this is my first time in the state of Kentucky. So in eastern Kentucky, when you drive into the state from Ohio, you have these rolling hills, and you can kind of see the way the highways landscape. You get these rolling hills, but once you get about halfway down and you start to go south of London, Kentucky, that's when you get into the into the real mountains. And unlike 81, which does go up a bit in elevation at one point, but you really go up to the top with this thing. I mean, they cut the road right at the peaks, and there were a few curves there where you look over to the side, and there ain't much there to go down.
It kind of reminds you of that one scene in the long, long, long trailer, right?
Yes. Oh, yeah, definitely. When you're driving up there. Um, Anthony Orr hit super chat tonight. Started early. Thanks very much. So I'm just kind of a little bit relaxed and laid back. My grandsons are getting ready for bed, and I've got ribs on the grill that are all set for dinner once we're done with the live stream. I have to tell you, though, just weather-wise, there's not a whole lot happening, and it is a really unusually quiet stretch that we're in.
Well, that upper low that you just alluded to is going to continue to, between you and where you are and I am, there's this big blob of cloud cover and also some showery conditions that are going on right now. So if you're down, let's say in the Carolinas, uh, it's not as anywhere near as pretty as what you and I have. But that upper low again, primarily responsible for helping to draw down some drier air into the Southland and into your part of the country. And for me, or for all of us up here, high pressure has been predominating and bringing us again glorious weather ever since actually since the start of last weekend.
Yeah, the upper low's really been something. It's spinning away. I'm trying to get the satellite loop because I'm doing everything tonight on one screen, so it doesn't seem to be working correctly. Let's see if I try something different. So hang on one second. Let me figure out what it was that I had up there. Nope, that wasn't it. Okay, hang on. Everybody just be a little patient with me tonight because I am like a little bit out of sorts.
How many miles
Uh,
did you drive from Ohio down to Georgia?
uh, so it was 500 and I think it was 525 miles from where I was.
Okay, that's a good 7, 8 hours right there.
Oh yeah, no, it was, and I'm still a little bit, that was I drove that on when did I drive to Ohio? Saturday, and then it's Monday morning. I got up at 3:30 and drove down to here, and I think I still haven't quite recovered from it. To tell you the God's honest truth,
How
Joe, just bear with because I'm trying to get this to work right, and there you go. So I wanted to finally get this. Um, with two separate monitors, usually I have no problem switching back and forth, but I'm only on one monitor tonight. But this upper low, I mean, what's really unusual about it is usually they somehow get kicked up and lifted up to the northeast, but this hasn't happened. This has really kind of dropped straight southward. And of course, if you're under that, with an onshore flow coming in off the Atlantic, in Virginia and the Carolinas, temperatures in some places probably didn't get much out of the 60s today, along with some of the rain that's going on. So that is what I'm under here in Georgia, and it really just kept things nice and cool.
Yes, I was just looking at the chat board, and Mark G, is he relatively new to our?
No, no, Mark's around. Mark's been around.
Oh, thank you, Mark. You just kicked in on Super Chat. So
Oh, thanks, Mark. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
he says thank you to you for doing this live stream while you're visiting your family, because obviously visiting your family, you have a lot better things to do than just sit and, and do this. But we all appreciate it.
Oh well, no worries. Thank you very much. I'm just looking just to show everybody the temperatures right now at 7 o'clock across where you are, Joe. It's in the I see 79 at Poughkeepsie. It's mid 60s and low 70s on Long Island and low to mid 70s, but your dew points upper 40s to mid 50s. And I'm going to roll down to Virginia and North Carolina, where temperatures this evening are in the upper 50s in much of the western half of North Carolina, mid 50s dew point, upper 50s on the temperatures. And right now in Atlanta, it is 73. This is at the airport. Now I'm north of Atlanta at the moment. 73 dew point, 55. Okay,
Wow.
under a mostly cloudy sky. Uh, just visibility 10 miles, an east northeast breeze at about 7. It was just an absolutely delightful day. Even down into northern Florida, Jacksonville right now is 75 with a dew point of 63. That's not too shabby for mid June, that far
Right.
south. I mean, that just shows you the influence of that upper low, and also the fact that we are seeing there is rain with this, by the way, and that's one of the other interesting things about this is that as this rain spins in from the north, goes southeast to northwest, with the heavy rains coming into the Carolina Outer Banks and then going back westward into Western Virginia, Southern West Virginia, Western North Carolina. That area, Joe, is having a real tough time. It's not moving north; it's just kind of sitting there and has been for the last couple of days.
And you just don't see this normally in the month of June. But again, this has been a crazy year, and so far it's been kind of a crazy month weather-wise. So why not? Why not have dew point temperatures of 63 in Jacksonville? Why not have dew points in the comfortable 50s in the vicinity of Atlanta, Georgia? Normally in June, July, and August, we refer to Atlanta as Hot Atlanta, but
Yes.
not necessarily right now.
No, not at all. In fact, everybody here is just in amazement as to how cool and dry it is. Radar in the Northeast is quiet and will be again probably for tomorrow. And in the Southeast, also fairly quiet down into Florida. Not too much happening there. A little bit of action in the Florida Straits. We've got some scattered cells in East Texas tonight and on up into parts of western Arkansas. Also seeing a little bit of some scattered showers across New Mexico. And then it starts to get a little busier when you move up into Montana and Idaho and Wyoming. This is where the Storm Prediction Center, by the way, has some action tonight. Smallish area of slight risk being indicated up in northwestern North Dakota, northeastern Montana, with a marginal risk, Joe, western South Dakota, and also a small area of marginal risk in eastern North Carolina. Otherwise, much of the country. I was thinking about the fact that remember reading that the amount of severe weather across the U.S. during the month of May was actually subpar, and we're getting to the point now in the severe weather season where things tend to settle down a little bit. Slight risk tomorrow in eastern South Dakota, eastern North Dakota, northwest Minnesota. Small area of marginal risk northeastern North Carolina, southeastern Virginia, and no thunderstorm activity forecast for the Northeast. And then on, this is for Thursday into Friday. Thursday will be the first day that maybe there might be some pop ups, scattered pop ups, mainly south and west of New York City, down through the southeast down to Florida, uh, due to the fact that this upper low is going to be getting kicked out, and we're going to finally see this high move out offshore. And that's going to start the trend, I think, to very warm and very humid conditions as we head into Father's Day weekend.
Yeah, and I think tomorrow will be the last day where we're going to see a significant suppression of dew point temperatures, probably in the, I would say, somewhere in the 52 to 57 range. Again, not bad at all for the month of June. And then when we get to Thursday and especially Friday and the weekend, Joe, we'll be talking about, I think, dew points back into the 60s, which is more the norm, I guess, for the for June, and just enough of a climb in the dew points and the humidity levels so that the mention of a thunderstorm is warranted, beginning I think later on Thursday, later on Friday, at least in the Hudson Valley, and then on through the weekend into early next week. Not saying that this weekend's going to be a washout, but by the time we get to the afternoon, temperatures rising into the 80s, dew points in the 60s, then and small little what can I call them? Wavelets in the atmosphere. So enough of a disturbance to trigger perhaps a few pop-up showers and storms late each afternoon, beginning Friday and continuing through.
Yeah, and they should be scattered. I kind of think for most of the areas in the east, because we don't really have any kind of, we have no real cold front that's coming through anytime soon. So
No.
once we get rid of this little surface low that is on the map tonight off the North Carolina coast, you got this high in the Gulf of Maine. So once everything gets pushed away to the east, you start to get into this south southwest flow. It really is going to be a matter of scattered pop-ups, and I think it could be a situation where you might see it one day but not see it the next, or you may be lucky enough you might be in a spot where you may not see them at all. I think the better chances for pop-ups is likely inland versus the coast. Maybe there'll be a bit of a sea breeze front on one of those days. Hard to say. Just kind of popped into my head that perhaps that was a possibility. But again, with no major weather systems moving along, it's going to be awfully hard to try to squeeze out any kind of widespread activity of
I think,
consequence.
yeah, I think you're right. It's kind of in the doldrums, if you will. Not anything really significant to serve as a catalyst or triggering mechanism, but maybe just enough moisture, just enough humidity, and enough sunshine, certainly in the afternoon, to percolate or boil the atmosphere up to provide a few of these pop-up storms from place to place and time to time.
By the way, WPC on their rainfall forecast map, um, of the next 7 days. And of course, the areas in Virginia, North Carolina have been raining for quite a while, uh, showing another several inches of rain to fall in this zone. But you can see how it's kind of balled up down there. It starts to push a little bit further north, and the WPC, I'm sorry, the Weather Prediction Center folks, bringing an inch or an inch and a half of rain into parts of southern Pennsylvania. uh, that's probably a reflection of the northern extent of this upper low, maybe reaching up into southern Pennsylvania Wednesday night into Thursday for a short time. And I think it's also reflecting the possibility of some pop-ups going from Thursday into the weekend. And those are the areas further inland where I think it'd be more favorable. If you look along the coast, they're showing very little in the way of precip, Joe. From Maine, if you go coastal Maine down to coastal New Jersey, we're talking about a tenth of an inch of liquid or less. So, the main bet with WPC is that everything is going to be inland if we're going to see anything. And also some decent rains, by the way, in the central and northern plains and on up into the western lakes. The Pacific Northwest dries up, still a little bit busy up in the northern Rockies, up into Montana. And now, of course, we're into the dry season in California and in the Southwest.
And I'm beginning to think more and more, Joe, that you're going to be that you may very well be right with your forecast that no 90-degree day at Central Park this month of June. I certainly don't see anything much higher than the upper 80s. Now, admittedly, Central Park, let's say on any given day, Sunday or Monday next week might be like 86, 87.
Right.
Poughkeepsie might be 90 or 91, 92. But I really don't think that New York City has a shot, at least the next 7 days, of hitting or exceeding 90s.
Well, I got the, I just brought up the high temperature forecast map for our zone, and starting with Wednesday. So uh, basically, we're looking, this is the Weather Service's digital forecast. So they've got near 80 in New York City tomorrow. Most places, mid 70s to around 80, mid to upper 60s along the immediate shore. That seems reasonable. You start to edge it up on Thursday in inland areas up in the Hudson Valley and heading up into New England. And this is going to be one of those days, Thursday, Joe, with the where it's actually going to be hotter as you go north. So you're looking at temperatures probably reaching upper 80s and lower 90s in New Hampshire, Southwest Maine, parts of Vermont, Western Mass. And then you start getting down further south because you're dealing with maybe more in the way of cloud cover. And there you start to see the highs are going to be about 10 degrees lower, mid 70s to around 80. And even down in Virginia, I'm looking for in parts of Virginia in the West Virginia mountains on Thursday, temperatures some places aren't even going to get out of the 60s because of this upper low. This is on Thursday. And then when we get into the weekend, we're going to start to punch the temperatures up a little bit. Again, it's warmer as you go further north. It's highs. I'm just looking by me, the high, I'm down in Atlanta, so Friday's high is 86. But you head up into Richmond, it's 81 in Virginia. And you go up into New England, just north of Poughkeepsie, it's 87. Hartford, 87. Central, it's actually going to be warmer much further north as you go up into New England than it is going to be in the southeastern part of in the U.S., the southeast. And then Saturday and Sunday, those are the 2 days. The digital forecast does pop up some upper 80s to near 90-degree readings Saturday and for Sunday. Maybe not so much on Saturday, a little bit of a better chance on Sunday, Father's Day, where a couple of 90-degree readings are popped up here and there. But New York City only gives a high of 84 for Sunday, and for Saturday only 83, and Monday 86. So maybe I'll have a shot at my prediction of no 90, like you said.
Yeah, I don't honestly see for New York City now temperatures reaching to or above 90. It'll be the inland spots, as you pointed out, to the north that'll have the best chance of attaining hot temperature, and that's been the earmark of the last few weeks. The places that you normally would travel out of the city to places up north where you expect it to be nice and cool, those places have been roasting over the
Yeah.
last.
Well, the upper high, the if you look at the height anomalies in terms of higher than normal, where the ridges have actually been stronger than normal from upstate New York and in New England northward into eastern Canada, and it's been cooler because of these cutoff lows in the mid-Atlantic and down into the southeastern part of the United States. The whole jet, and I've got the latest GFS up as an example here. Another deep trough in the west with this big upper low that's sitting in Oregon, but then the jet stream retreats to about James Bay, and you've got this narrow east-west high that's built from off the coast, just south of Nova Scotia. This is the upper high, all the way back into the Great Lakes. This is I think maybe the second or third time where we've had this kind of banana high build over the top, and then you wind up with a trapped upper low sitting sitting down in the southeastern part of the U.S.
I hear
And
somebody yelling for Grandpa.
yeah, no, that's my my older grandson. It's almost bedtime.
And he's saying like, "Grandpa, I want those ribs."
Yeah, no, he's not getting the ribs.
Ah,
He's too young for the ribs. Uh, Joe, taking a looking at the upper air here, you know that upper low finally opens up and gets out of the way. There's a little bit of troughing here Friday and Saturday. That's probably why you start to see maybe some of these pop-ups. And the model seems to be driving a stronger trough into the Great Lakes, but it doesn't dig far enough south. You know, I wonder. You know, I thought earlier that maybe we'd get some sort of cold front here along about Monday or late Monday or Tuesday. But I wonder if that front's going to wind up falling apart before it gets here, and then you'll probably have to wait until later next week. And even there, I'm not really overly impressed.
yes. Now it's beginning to take the form of many of those summers that you and I experienced in the 1970s, where you look to the north and west for a cold front to break the humidity or break the heat, and they always seem to fall apart at the very last minute. And we've been up until now in a very progressive airflow where we've seen quite a few fronts move by, quite a bit of an usherance of cool and dry air. But it may very well be that the worm is about to turn, and we may have to deal with a stretch, a rather long stretch, as you just alluded to, Joe, of very warm, if not maybe close to downright hot weather, or humid weather, as we see things kind of move more slowly in the days ahead.
By the way, with that upper low in the Pacific North, in the northwestern part of the U.S., the GFS has actually got some snow tomorrow morning in parts of Idaho
Get away
uh,
from
and western Wyoming, believe it or not. Not a surprise considering how strong that upper low is. Meantime, you know, we're finally going to get rid of this, you know, low in the southeast, slowly but surely. You see how the GFS kind of does these pop ups for Thursday during the afternoon, mainly Pennsylvania down into Virginia, North Carolina. Then they weaken at night, flare up again in the afternoon on Friday, although it looks like Friday there's actually a bit less. And again, most of them are inland Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Virginia, and parts of upstate New York. Saturday, again, they flare up. Doesn't look anything overly impressive. And, you know, for Sunday, Father's Day, there's a few showers and storms that flare up in parts of New England and in the Hudson Valley, but nothing to scream home about. And Monday, the same. Looks like a weak frontal boundary approaches, but no real push to it. And yeah, I mean, I'm looking at this. We're probably going to have to wait till maybe later, you know, Wednesday or Thursday of next week before we get any kind of real cold front to come on through here. It's going to
yeah,
take all week.
yeah, and again, this is reminiscent to me, at least, of some of those scenarios we went through in the 70s, where you'd literally go through 5 or 6 days of heat and or humidity.
Hmm.
Finally, the cold front arrives, and it comes like the cavalry, so to speak, with a couple of thunderstorms, and then it's almost as if you were opening a window, letting the fresh air in.
Yeah.
And we went through these long spells. I think one summer that stands out in my mind, the summer of 1988, we went through, I think, 5 or 6 heat waves, and one of them I think was something like 8 or 9 days long, something ridiculous like that. And we it just to me at least, we just don't see that anymore here. We get our share of occasional heat and humidity, but they just don't last as long, and they're not as frequent as they
Right.
back in the 70s.
I figured we might as well let's take a look at the tropics a little bit because a few people I noticed have been talking about um, just the general state of the tropics. Now, there's nothing that's going to develop. The Hurricane Center does mention two areas of interest. One is the area that's off the southeast coast, where you see disorganized clouds and showers, but there really isn't much to it. And they have a almost non-existent probability of development. We also have, you know what, I want to add a few extra frames here. Hang on a second. just to make the loop look a bit more active. Let's put 48 frames on it instead of 12. And that's loading up. So you got, as I said, you have this area off the southeast coast from the Bahamas out to Bermuda. A lot of disturbed weather, but there's a little bit of a low that's going to form in there, and I don't think it's going to really develop into very much. Also, one of the things that's been noticeable is the fact that it is mid-June. We have been seeing some rather active looking tropical waves. Now, they don't develop into anything because conditions just aren't favorable for development. But it's interesting to see the fact that we are seeing, relative to the time of year, somewhat robust waves coming across the tropical Atlantic. Now, whether that remains the case down the road, when we get into the more important months of August into September for the Cape Verde season, remains to be seen. The other thing I'd point out, Joe, there is a lot of African dust. If you look at the satellite, you can clearly see there's this really massive area of dust coming off the Sahara and into the eastern half of the Atlantic. It almost looks like a complete solid. It almost looks like a high overcast. Usually, the dust on the satellites is a little bit more subtle than what it looks like here. Must be a pretty active dry season in Africa. The Saharan dust, it's always dry, but maybe it's even drier than it usually is to give it a look like this.
I'm trying to find something that would help clean that up, Joe. And
What, the dust?
Yeah.
Yes, and that dust was a gift from.
I think I did. I think I found something. I'm
Okay,
gonna try to send it to you. Hold on for a second.
what am I cleaning it up with?
Well, you'll see in a moment when I send this to you.
All right, hang on. I'm going to switch over to the sandwich RGB shot just to give it a different view.
There you go. I just sent it to you.
Okay,
Hang
but
wait.
I'll pull it up in a second. But if you look on the sandwich view, also, folks, you can see the dust is pretty obvious. As once we go to nighttime, it obviously it disappears. But that dust is very, very prominent in the Eastern Atlantic. Now we'll see where it is weeks from now when things will be a bit more relevant. But as I said, and the Hurricane Center, just kind of mentioning these two areas, one off the southeast coast, the other one down east of Trinidad and Tobago. Both areas, 10% probability in the next 2 days and 10% in the next 5 days.
In 1973, somebody at Cunard Lines, cruise lines, had the idea there was going to be a major, like 7 minute total eclipse of the sun over Africa, and a lot
Right.
of expeditions went to Africa for it. But they had the idea, hey, why go to the Sahara Desert? Why don't we get a big, beautiful cruise ship and park it off the coast of Africa, and we'll have no problems. We'll be able to see it, with no, extremes in terms of weather or anything. And it turned out on the morning of the eclipse, there was a large cloud of Sahara dust over and offshore. They had to put that ship. It was the Canberra at the time, one of the biggest cruise ships in the world. They had to floor the gas on that thing and pull away from the African coast to escape that Sahara dust. It was not too pleasant. It was one idea that almost ended up, um, you know,
Oops.
misfiring, so to speak. But they did see the eclipse. They did get away from all of that low hanging schmutz, that low hanging cloud of dust. Anyway, I sent you a messenger what I thought would help you if you wanted to clean out all the dust.
All right, hang on. You know what it is? I can't. Um, Hold on, Joe. I can't because I'm only working with one monitor. If I go to look at it, I lose the double box, which I've
Oh,
already lost twice. So I
oh,
can't see the chat board. I can't see Briller Jeopardy tonight. So I think what I'll have to do tomorrow is, um, sorry, Scott. I'll have to write it down ahead of time
I'll give
and
you. give you your
Oh, you give
griller.
me mine. Okay.
Yeah. Are you all set for that?
Yeah, I'm all set.
All right. Let me make sure I have the right page here. Oh, come on. Now I have to search again for it, but I will find it. It'll be right up your alley because a lot of these questions have to do with your favorite and maybe mine. I Love Lucy.
Okay.
Um, I don't know why this is, and I know you have the same problem that somebody will send you something, and then you'll just
It'll disappear, and then it loads up. I guess it's Messenger and how long it takes for it to load. By the way, your lovely face is cutting off at the eyes, so just kind of bring your head down a little bit. There you go.
yeah, like this.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, come on. Where is it? I actually saw the questions. I almost think I could tell them to you from.
Oh, all right. So, actually, I want to tell you. You just reminded me. There were a couple of things I wanted to tell you about my drive.
Oh, I
Okay,
found
you
it.
go first, and then I'll tell you. Go ahead.
All right. So here we go. This was supposed to be for Griller Jeopardy Monday, but we didn't have a Monday, so we're having a Tuesday. Ba, 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 ba. Category one. In the Vitamita Vegemin commercial, what was Lucy really drinking?
Oh, was it apple juice or apple cider or
Well, yeah, you're
yeah, it's apple cider.
apple pectin.
Yeah,
All right.
exactly.
On the first episode of I Love Lucy, how old was Lucille Ball?
She was 30 on the first episode in 1951.
Yes.
She was born in 1911, so she was almost 40.
Well, according to Scott, and I guess maybe it has something to do with the month or whatever. I think it was October.
October, right?
40. He has 41.
41 would make sense. Yeah, she because she was born in 11, so it'd be 40 or 41.
And was Vivian Vance 1 year younger
She
or
was born
older?
in 12. Yes,
12. So that's kind of amazing, isn't it?
right.
Yeah,
Although on the later episodes, it was sort of implied that Lucy's character was in her early 30s, while Ethel's character was the same age as Vivian Vance, which would have been early 40s.
right. In the episode Job Switching, what is the name of the place that Lucy and Ethel are working?
Kramer's Candy Kitchen.
Right. See, don't ask I Love Lucy questions. This man, he knows it all. In the episode about Vitamin Benjamin, going back to that again, what percent of alcohol is being drunk in the Vitamin Benjamin?
Oh, I can just picture Jerry, was it Jerry Haber saying alcohol 23%?
23% off.
23%. I thought so.
And the last
But it's
question.
46 proof.
Okay, so that's double the percentage.
Yeah.
Right. How many years did I Love Lucy lead the yearly Nielsen ratings? And I didn't even know they had Nielsen's way back then. I thought they were called Hooper ratings or whatever. But
I'm going to say 6 out of the 7. Or maybe also, it depends on how we count them. I know there was one year where one show, was it one episode of the U.S. Steel Hour wound up finishing number one, or something, or some other show passed it. I forget.
well, he has here 4 years, 52, 53, 54, and my favorite year because I was born that year, 56.
Right, right. So just on that same theme, okay,
Right.
I just want to point out that since I was in Ohio, I was in Lower Slobovia, okay, and uh, there wasn't anything clean to Cincinnati. I'm driving as I'm leaving Columbus. That's like it pops into my head, and that's all I kept saying as I'm driving down, passing a couple of exits, and there's just those little stretches where there's not much. It's like, and there ain't anything clean to Cincinnati. It is true. And by the way, a couple of other things in the great state of Kentucky. Okay, I was at a point where I was. By the way, a few people have asked. My truck is great. Knock on wood. It made for an incredibly pleasant drive. Um, I needed to get gas at some point, so I start looking. I have this general rule is that um, when you're looking for gas or a restaurant, a place to eat, it's always going to be on the wrong side. So, like if you're driving and you're looking for gas, the gas stations will be on the left, okay, and the restaurants will be on the right, which forces you to kind of go around and maybe go to the other side of the highway. And if you're looking for a restaurant, that's when all the gas stations will be on the right and all the restaurants will be on the left.
Right.
It's just, but there was a couple of I was trying to decide what exit to get off of, and I came upon the exit called Stinky Creek Road. I have no idea, but the name of the street was the exit was Stinky Creek Road.
Now, in that episode of I Love Lucy, we really don't know where in Ohio they happen to be, right?
No,
I
they're
mean,
on their way to Cincinnati, but yeah, we don't know exactly. Well, Fred says it. When they say we're going to stay here tonight, and Fred says here in Lower Slobovia.
indeed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like I said, there wasn't anything clean to Cincinnati.
By the, by,
Um,
by the way, if you get when you get a chance when you come back on MeTV, they have a great episode, not a great episode, a great commercial with Fred Flintstone and Fred Mertz. I don't know
oh,
if you
I think I've seen it. I've seen it.
I
And
said
yeah, they're all saying Fred.
right that
Everybody in it is saying
Fred,
Fred.
Fred, where are you, Fred? And all of a sudden, the funniest part of the whole commercial is when they come back to William Crowley says, "Yeah, that's Fred."
All right, listen, let's wrap it up because dinner's waiting and I'm hungry. Um, Thanks everybody for being here tonight. It's going to be a little rough on these live streams because I can't pull up screens like I said as I usually can. So Joe, you're going to have to monitor the chat board religiously for any questions and comments going forward for the rest of the week. Okay.
We'll do. We'll do.
And thanks to everyone who hit super chat tonight. Anthony Orr and who was the other? Who else did super chat tonight?
Uh, Mark G.
Mark G. Thank you both, and we'll see you tomorrow. I don't know that we're going to have much more weather going on, but we'll see.